Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN AM for Wednesday, January 27th, 2021. And here are our top stories. It's time for women to take control of their financial lives and how to launch an intergenerational business at midlife. Well, joining me now to discuss this and more is author, personal finance expert, and columnist, Carrie Hancock. Carrie, Happy New Year. Great to have you on the program this morning.
Hey, terrific. Thanks for having me with you.
Well, you write some really important columns. You do some amazing work both with your books and also with your columns each and every week. Let's tackle one that I found this column fascinating and something that I really wanted to talk about in the network, which is continuing to empower women to take control of their finances. And Carrie, I want to get to the gist of this, but this is really something that whether you're a young woman, a mature woman, a middle-aged woman, any woman should be doing.
No kidding. I mean, this is just essential to everyone, but women in particular, they tend to be a little bit bashful about jumping into this, really getting a grip on their financial life.
Yeah, and I guess I don't understand the bashfulness because, I'm going to be the first one to admit, I'm 48 years old, be 49 in May, that I don't know everything. And I certainly don't know everything about the stock market because I think everyone should know that no one knows everything about the stock market. So, Carrie, why would women be bashful and how can they overcome that?
Yeah, those are great questions. And I ask myself these all the time, but there's some really key things, Jeff, I think that happen is there is still a cultural taboo. Even after all this time with women in the workplace and more women graduating from college degrees than ever before, these kinds of things, women are doing great strides in many areas, but there's this cultural idea that talking about money is somehow impolite, that it is somehow we don't discuss salaries, we don't talk about money around the dinner table, that it's crass in some way. So there's that part that it's kind of embedded in us. There's the second piece of it is that, I find women, I'll say, why aren't you thinking about your retirement accounts or your 401k or, even your savings accounts or what have you? And they'll be like, well, I'm just not good with math or it bores me. And I'm like, oh, that is so not true. It is really at the core of it is that they're not familiar with the terms. They just don't feel comfortable with the terminology, with a lot of it, and they kind of kick it down the road. It's like one more thing on the to-do list, and so I'll think about it tomorrow, a la Scarlett O'Hara.
Look, I think you may be right. Of course, I'm not a woman, so I can't speak for women. But the industry has a ton of jargon, and I think that works against not just women. It works against men, minorities, so many people, because there's a lot of jargon, and it's intimidating. It's intimidating to talk about alpha, beta, and maybe what people need to do is find a mentor. Women maybe need to do is find a mentor. And I know you do a lot of financial counseling. You go all around the United States, or at least you were doing that pre-COVID. Maybe you're doing it now through Zoom and Skype, et cetera, where you can have these workshops and empower women.
Yeah, because it should be ingrained in our lives. It should be something we're comfortable talking about because nobody cares as much about your money as you do. And it is your personal thing. And many times, we've maybe talked about this before, but women are often the CEOs of their household. They understand how to pay the bills each month and how to do all of these various things that you must do in a partnership or if they're managing their money solo. But they somehow get daunted by this whole idea of retirement savings in particular. And what I like to tell women is, let's not think about it as retirement. You're thinking about you're saving for life. You're saving for goals that you have. So if women can put a picture on something of what they need, their goal is, that often makes it easier to sort of start getting the discipline in order to set money aside and be really clever about what you're doing.
And if you're in a partnership, if you've got a partner, it's okay to delegate certain responsibilities, right? I mean, we delegate household chores. I may do the laundry. I may clean the litter box for the cats. My wife maybe she goes shopping, does some other things. But it doesn't mean that because you delegate, you're not supposed to be knowledgeable or be aware or be involved. Delegation is not the equivalent of just deferring, and people should be involved. Money is very important, Carrie. And in fact, as we know, and we've talked about this, you and I, women traditionally live longer than men. They're going to live longer than their partners if they have a traditional marriage or a partnership, and they need to be prepared.
Yep, they need to be prepared. And again, we'll hit it again. Women, there's a wage gap. There's the time that they're out of the workforce to caregive. There are lots of other things that set the bar pretty high for women as compared to their male colleagues. So, let's get serious and start early, because the other thing I get really crazy about, and this is an issue, I'm really an advocate for women in money because it's not hard. This stuff, you can really automate a lot of it. But I think women in their 20s in particular still spend money on marketing themselves, on makeup, on clothes, on maybe not right now so much, but going out, and instead of saving. And men at that age don't do it as much. Women tend to spend more on their housing. If you live in a city, I think that's okay, because it's generally because they're paying up for a safer neighborhood perhaps, or they'll pay for transportation like a taxi versus walking at night. These are things that are okay to spend more on. But there are some things that, men tend to start earlier paying attention to savings and looking forward to saving for their future.
So Carrie, I'll ask you, what is your thoughts about kind of a solution? Is it a solution? Is education really the issue? Is it about making sure that there are venues like this, like your columns, that people just need to be tuned in? They should be tuned in from grade school, from middle school, from high school, college, etc. I mean, what's the solution? What are potential solutions here?
Yeah, Jeff, I'm so glad you said that. I'm a big, big advocate for getting this financial education into the school system. Start early, because a lot of families aren't talking about it around the dinner table. So if you can learn some of these things at a young age, you're more comfortable with them. It doesn't seem like it's some big deal. I mean, I never even thought about it until I got my first full-time job and had a 401k plan. But even then, I just sort of made some selections and forgot about it, and cashed it out when I changed jobs. So there you go. Nobody told me not to. So I think it's education as early as possible. It's tuning into this kinds of things. It's education is the core, because once you're familiar with something, it's not so daunting. It's not so scary. And getting that, what you said at the top, I love this, finding a money mentor. If you can find someone you can really, turn to, and it might be a financial advisor that you trust, but somebody who truly looks at your holistic life, not just what you're investing in, but who you are and what matters to you, and how you want to allocate your dollars for savings and spending, but who really gets your whole picture of your life and what's important to you.
Yeah, and look, my mentor early on when I was a young man and had hair would say to me, life is a learned experience. And I can tell you, you never know it all. And if you think you know it all, you're just looking to be knocked down. And like anything else, you learn as you go and you make mistakes. And we've all been there. Well, Carrie, I want to go to a very quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Carrie about beginning an intergenerational business. What's that? Well, we're going to learn more. You stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Hi folks, Joe Namath here, and if you're on Medicare, this is important. You're now entitled to eliminate copays and get dental care, dentures, eyeglasses, prescription coverage, in-home aids, unlimited transportation, and home-delivered meals, all at no additional cost. Plus, your zip code may have coverage with a give-back benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. Look, with the uncertainty of the virus and vaccines, you need to get everything you're entitled to. Here's the bottom line. Call to get significant benefits at no additional cost and see if your zip code has coverage with the Give Back benefit. Millions of people have trusted the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-924-3920. That's 1-800-924-3920.
Welcome back. We're talking to author, columnist, and personal finance expert, Carrie Hancock. Carrie, thanks for staying with us this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Love being here.
So we had a great conversation about empowering women, taking that financial control, and being an active participant in your life. Very important in all phases of a woman's life. Let's talk about building an intergenerational business. First, what is an intergenerational business? And second, how do we do it?
Well, this is one of my favorite kind of combos for entrepreneurship teams. And I write about them in my book, Never Too Old to Get Rich, as well. And it's just the power of having a senior and a junior entrepreneur pairing up to start a business together. So it's somebody maybe in their 40s and 50s and 60s and someone in their 20s or 30s coming together and saying, let's do this together as a team. And the synergies are amazing. And we can tease that out a little bit. But you're building a business for the future. It doesn't necessarily have to be one that's 5 or 6 years or a retirement business. This is a business that you can really launch that has legs, that can have a long runway, because you've got that younger person really right at the team, as part of your team that's going to carry it forward.
And I like this because we've talked about this with yourself and other guests, which is corporations wanting to take advantage of the experience. And if you can create a team of different generations, you get different sets of disciplines, different experiences. And I like this from an entrepreneur point of view, because as a young entrepreneur, you learn through experience. You learn by making mistakes, like we just talked about in the previous segment. So if you can be partnered with someone who's more senior, man or woman, whatever, and or someone who just has more experience, that bodes really well for success, and it will allow you access to a multitude of other things, including capital.
No kidding. I mean, and that is a big ingredient that someone who, if you're pairing up with someone who's seen a little more senior and more experience than you, can bring to it. But it's also, in addition to capital, in that gravitas that may even help you raise capital if need be. But it's also the senior partner is coming with a network, with contacts, with people that may be able to help shore up your business and be a support team for you, and potential clients as well. And particularly if you're launching in an industry that the senior partner has been involved with, it's really great because there's that knowledge. There's that deep knowledge of the industry and where the holes are. But I think you get the sharing of the two skill sets, which, quickly the younger entrepreneur can bring this sort of energy and enthusiasm and new ideas, new ways of looking at things, the technology, those things. Yeah,
and certainly one of the things that you probably have to think about is how to split equity in the company. I'm thinking about all these. I've been reading a lot of articles through you and other columnists about people who are retiring and maybe trying to do some work, but maybe they don't want to do 100% of the work, or they want to kind of maybe work 20, 25 hours. That would be a great partner for one of the, you could serve as a mentor, be as a guide, and maybe have share in some equity. Maybe it wouldn't be 50-50. Maybe it'd be 30-70 or 20-80, something like that. Something commensurate to your experience, but also your input and effort, Carrie. Does that seem to make sense? I mean, does that balance make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you're so correct, Jeff. There's so many ways to slice it. Everyone's going to be an individual situation. And it's really, where you are in your life and career path and what interests you, what part you want to jump into, because the junior person may really love the books and getting into the financials and the older senior partner may be more adept at marketing and really love the people connection and the selling and the marketing, or it could be flipped around the other way. So you have to know your individual strengths. And importantly, what you said, how much time do you really want to invest in this business at this stage of your life? And then you can figure out, how does the equity work out?
Yeah. Carrie, if I'm a young entrepreneur or a mature entrepreneur, how do I get connected? Is it through industry associations? Are there startup associations in local areas? We live in Charlotte. I think you're in the Washington, D.C. area. How do you find and connect with people of similar idea to try to make this happen?
Yeah, it's truly, there are some groups percolating up that are specifically trying to be like matchmaking services. But I do think some of the best connections will come from looking at maybe alumni connections, or looking at SCORE, the Small Business Administration's mentoring arm, SCORE. They often may be able to connect you with somebody in your area that's working on a similar thing. Universities have some great incubators that again, you may be able to tap into and see who in your area is working on something. And again, you don't have to even be in the same town today because of the way, the virtual nature of work these days. But I do think there are many avenues to pursue. And industry associations, as you mentioned, is another terrific angle to look at. But look at your Chamber of Commerce in your town. Really leave no stone unturned here, because and just talking about it, networking, you may hear of somebody, hey, they're looking for an opportunity to work with someone in this area. They're kicking off a business. It goes both ways.
Yeah. Carrie, how do you, different age groups typically may have different decision-making skills. I don't know if that's the right word, but different styles, that's what I'm looking for. Different styles of working, decision-making skills. How do you broach that? Because, there is the thought among, and I was young once, and, you're like, oh, well, they do it the old way, or they do it a different way. How do you get people to recognize not to be so sensitive about it's got to be their way, and to understand other people's styles?
Yeah, I think right from the start, you need to establish what is your communication style going to be, and how do you best communicate? Is it going to be on the telephone? Is it going to be, on a Zoom call, or is it a Skype, or whatever or how do you like to communicate? How often should we communicate? Every day? Where are we drawing the boundaries on communication? Right? So that's good. So that you have an open line of communication. So you're on the same page. You need to talk things through and make decisions together. But for the senior entrepreneur, what I find most interesting is I counsel people, be open to new ideas. Don't be stuck in your ways of doing things. This is your time when you're working with somebody who's younger to open up and be receptive to new ways of doing things. Kind of check yourself. Listen before you speak. I think it's very important to be open to new ideas. It's very important to be humble. You don't know everything, okay? The world's changing very quickly. So give yourself a little talking to, and realize you need to process before you step forward, and really realize that they may have a better way of doing things than you do. So I think those are, realize that everyone comes to it with different skill sets and different ways of communicating and different life experiences. And their life experiences, the younger person's, is just as valuable as yours, because they have learned things maybe in a different way than you have.
Yep. Well, that humble, as you were talking, before you even mentioned the word, I was thinking about that. Got to check the ego at the door, or the virtual door, of course. Carrie, always a pleasure chatting with you. Very thought-provoking, really great ideas. And we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Thank you very much. I loved it.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to? Then drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out today's edition of our newsletter, The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited? And do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.